Welcome to episode 10 of Victor George Leather Goods YouTube series on tips, tricks, and techniques for the leather workshop. I have 13 of them for you today in this episode, and I'm confident to say that a large majority of them you've never seen before. So anyway, please enjoy. Hopefully you can use them, and let's get started with the first one. All right, this tip involves how I use Tnuts in my leather products. These hardware fastener devices come in all different sizes, in metric and standard sizes. The barrel lengths are different. You can get them at Home Depot or just look online for Tnuts, T-E-E nuts. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I use them and how I set them. So the 8/32 by 1/4 inch, the 1/4 inch is the barrel, the 8/32 is the thread size, 8/32 fits the standard Chicago screw hardware. Okay, so if you want something in permanent position to never come out, even if you want it, take them out, you can't. And I'm going to show you now how I use them. So in the photographs that I'm showing now, what I do is I take these Tnuts and I mount them into a piece of leather. I'll mount them on the back of a knife sheath, and then I just screw them into a slotted back piece so I can wear them horizontal or in any position that I would like to carry them. So let me demonstrate the use of these, or how I set them, and then we'll move on. All right, take a quick break. I have to punch a hole. This is the final set. You'll see the prongs have been flattened. I'm going to show you how I do that, and I'll be right back with a hole in this piece of leather. So I've got the appropriate hole in my project. I take my Tnut specific to the barrel size and thread size that I need for this project, and all I do is I place it into the back of my item. I stick it into the hole. Now I have a back piece here on a piece of 10-12 ounce leather with a little bit larger hole in it. I set it over that hole, and now this might make a little bit of noise, but what I do is I just smash it in. Okay, and what that does is it seats it into the leather, those little prongs. You can't see them right now, but here in a minute I'm going to show you how I seat those. So then I take a little anvil plate of any kind. I take the number 1 rivet setter for a number 9 copper rivet, and you need to make sure that whatever sizes you use, that the barrel fits inside those. Okay, some people have even used a socket similar to this old homemade tool, and that's all you need to do it. But anyway, this number 1 rivet setter works for me. I place it onto my anvil, I center this over the hole, and then I smash that. Okay, if you can see here, these little prongs have been pushed through the leather and peened over flat. There is no rough spots. These are permanent. They will never come out. All right? And that's how I use the Tnut. They're great for holsters and knife sheaths and other applications where you need a permanent Chicago screw. This tip involves my use of power burnishing pads. Now these are kind of carpet style pads or floor pads, and I found them online. This is the way they come. I just attach a nut and bolt type system so that I can use them with my hand drill. And I have a stiff one, medium to stiff, and then I have one that's basically soft. So I still dye a lot of my projects black. We all know that the residual pigment on black is notorious for rub off, and this is how I solve it. Now, before I found these brushes, I had these stiff bristle brushes, and then I would just power burnish them by hand with the brushes. But if I have a large item like a belt or a panel on a bag, yes, I still dye a lot of my leather black. So this is how I do it. I use these in my drill. And Okay, so once I do that, you can see that the surface has been somewhat burnished. Once I do that to my satisfaction, I just use the soft brush next. And then I use the softer brush to polish. I will either seal this with Resolene acrylic or a black atom wax. And that's it. Power burnishing. Here's a little something. These are basically miniature belts. I call them Salesman Samples. So in the late 19th and early 20th century, door-to-door salesmen would carry the products that they were trying to sell to the community, and they were usually in miniature, whether it was a cast iron stove or a saddle or you name it. They put them in miniature form so they can carry them around. That's what these are to me. So this is a doubled lined gun belt. And if I have a customer come into the shop, that way they can visually and physically check the quality of these style of belts. And a single ply 10-11 ounce belt, and they can just get a general idea of what these are made of and why they're so expensive, actually. So Salesman Samples, make your own from your trimmings from your belts, and always have them available, and it'll lend you some sales. Here's several tips back to back. Nothing earth-shattering. They are items that I use in my shop, so I thought I'd share them while I have you here. The first thing are these little machinist squares that I've picked up through the years. They work great on belt strapping to cut a perfect 90-degree edge. These putty knives, high carbon steel from the old days. This one came in this shape. I don't know what it was used for, but I use it as a skiving knife and as a cutting knife. So place your edge obviously on your strap, take your belt, and then cut your perfect 90-degree edge. So those are really handy. Another thing that I'd like to show you is if you are using size 14 copper rivets and you need to have a project where that is subsurface of the leather itself, what I do is I take my project and I take one of these are a universal eyelet setter, and you can pick them up at Springfield Leather. I'm not sure if Tandy has them, but Springfield Leather definitely does. And not only will they set your eyelets, but if you take your project and you set it on top of another piece of leather and you take this item here, this setter, and if you'll see, it'll give you a recess. And that size 14 rivet, now when set, will be subsurface and not a problem. So that's another fun one to have if you need that technique. And finally, I'm redoing this old, beautiful, classic buck knife sheath, back when they made them correctly. And for those of you that were in the military and used to have to polish your brass buttons on your Class A service dress, just take a piece of plastic with a split in it, place it over the button or whatever it is, and then you can polish it without getting your polishing paste onto your leather item. That's an old one, something different, but I use it in my shop, so I thought I'd share. And that's a Fast and Furious. These fine tip squeeze bottles that are easily available at places like Hobby Lobby or online under that search. And I use them for everything in my shop, from paints to white glue to edge solutions by Martin's Mix. These things come in super handy, relatively inexpensive, and once you've tried them, you'll always get more for some reason. Anyway, I have them and thought I'd share. Here's a little tip just to get you to look at something a little bit differently. For example, this metal Thunderbird that I found somewhere. I thought it was a very cool little pattern, and I've used it to decorate the face of knife sheaths. And wallets. So all you really do is you just place it down onto your leather, you trace it out, and then you can do an inverted background stamp, and it makes a nice little decorative technique. And you can also place it onto your item and airbrush over it, and it leaves a beautiful silhouette of the item. Here's another really unnecessary item that I have in my shop. I just happened to find one at an estate sale rather inexpensively, and I use this for sharpening my knives, for polishing the snap caps to a brilliant luster, my copper rivet heads, as you've seen in my rivet how-to video, and just a whole bunch of things that are really handy in a shop. Just thought I'd show you. If you have a power machine like this, it does come in handy. I can sharpen my knives in a matter of minutes every morning in the shop, and thought I'd show you that. This 2-ton Arbor Press is an upgrade from the 1-ton press that I got at Harbor Freight years ago. This you'll have to search online to find, and it comes with a flywheel, which is very handy, an adjustable flywheel. I take the Arbor Press, place an 8x8 steel plate, a kitchen poly board, and whatever leather item you have. It's great for your rosettes or any other large type punches that you use, 2-inch oblong punch, and especially for your larger name stamps out of Delrin. A 2-ton press really makes a nice, deep, crisp impression. So take your piece of leather, you place it onto the board, and you take whatever item that you want to cut with it, raise the jaws, set it on it, center that bar onto the leather itself, and then just, it doesn't really take much effort, and there you go. Here's a super quick tip that I want to show you using synthetic shearling. Now, this is about the only thing that I find a use for, and that's cutting them up into squares and using them as applicators for dyes, for oils, for polishing your leather product when it's done, scratch-free, and synthetic shearling available probably at someplace like Springfield Leather or Tandy, and that's it. Great little product. You get a lot of yield from it. This tip is something I'm going to show you because I need to make me some more wax cakes. The absolute best combination is equal parts of beeswax and Gulf wax is what I use. It's a household paraffin wax. 50-50. I use a little scale to make sure that I'm close. And then I place them into a double boiler type system, and then once those are nice and cooked, I'll put them into whatever size containers that I want. These are little 2-ounce plastic tins. These make a nice thing. I've used the little red Solo cups. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off, and I'm gonna show you the molten wax, and now we're ready to pour. So just be careful, use a second container, and just pour your wax in, whatever size cakes you want to use. And be very careful with this. I don't recommend this, of course, but we're gonna make some 2-ounce wax cakes. This isn't like paraffin. Don't stick your hand in there. That beeswax will bite you. Okay, so I got just a little bit more. I'll pour it into my big container. And these are great for edging your belts. I love a waxed finish belt. And also, when these large cakes are done, they're great for dipping your punching irons and your round punches in, kind of as a lubricant for cutting leather. I'll show you a picture of these once they cool, And that's it. And that's how I make them. 50-50, perfect blend. All right, well, that concludes episode 10 of Tips, Tricks, and Hacks for the Leather Workshop. I hope there was something in here that you found useful and that you can employ in your own shop. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. This is another unnecessary item that I have in my shop. It's a 12-ton press from Arbor Freight. I have two 1-inch thick by 12 by 12 sheets of gum rubber. This is for pressing in the initial mold on holsters and knife sheaths, and it has other uses as well. I will show you that in a separate video. But anyway, please like, share, and subscribe, and I appreciate you sticking around. Have a great day.